Hello, everybody. I am so beyond excited to be sharing this with you today. And I have just had a gap in my diary, and I literally was just like, right, I'm ready to record this now. This is the long awaited video that I know you've all been waiting for. How my gorgeous, beautifully souled, incredible, amazing, never giving up on himself, no matter what the 3D was throwing at him, how my gorgeous client, how he got his man back, not just getting his man back, which is his soulmate, his lover, his best friend, his everything. They're living with each other. Literally, they are living with each other. So we're going to tell the story. He's written it in his words. So I'm going to be relaying it. I've said to him, I'm not going to edit anything that he says. I'll add some bits in if I feel like it's needed for you all. And yeah, we'll take it from there. It's the journey to my gorgeous, beautifully sold client to getting his boy, to getting his man. So here it is, guys. The story from my incredible client, entitled Never Give Up, My Story of Love. Hi, Natalie. I want to start off again by saying thank you so much for working with me. You truly held my hand throughout my entire journey, and words cannot express how much I appreciate you. I wanted to share my journey because at some point my doubts and fear was driving me absolutely insane, and several times I did not feel I could have what I wanted, and I did want to give up. I want to emphasize onto the fact that circumstances do not matter, not only the external ones, but the ones within. The doubts and fear were constant. Might I add, I was always having arguments with my SP in my head, so buckle up. I'm very detail oriented, therefore this may be a long one, but please read it all, Natalie, and sorry in advance. Maybe press pause, get that cup of tea. Here we go. My SP and I met in February 2020 at the start of COVID. At first, I was not into him, but he was pursuing me, so I decided to give it a chance. We decided to be together and made it official in March. Like all relationships, the honeymoon phase was pretty good, but I was never really able to fully give him my heart. The honeymoon phase quickly went as our arguments started frequently. Our personality clashed a lot. In addition to the arguing, I was not being satisfied sexually. He was doing everything that he could to please me. I remember the day he told me he loved me. I did grow to love him, but there was something there that I just didn't fully give him my all. I will say he was the first man I felt that revered me, that truly loved me. There were things that he did for me that was so sweet. Again, he did everything that he could to please me and prove himself. I remember one of our first fights where things got really heated and I stormed out and left, but quickly returned. The conversation I had with him was telling him how I was always ending up with my heart broken. I told him, I always give my all and I get hurt at the end. I am the one who was always fighting for the relationship and doing all the work. This was a major self-concept issue. As time went on, we kept bumping heads until once again we got into a heated argument. This fight happened at the end of June 2020. I left his house that night. Although I missed him, I tried to stay away. We would text every now and then, but just brief conversations. But prior to that breakup, he told me about a barbecue party for the 4th of July that he wanted me to come to at his house to meet his family. I did not say that I was going, but now that we broke up, I knew I did not want to go. So he texted me the night before the party and I told him that I was not coming. He called me the next day and I just did not feel comfortable to go because we were not together and we did not address that issue either. So he was okay about me not going, but you can tell he was sad about it. It was in August that things completely changed, where now I was a pursuer. I reached out to him, telling him that I wanted to talk. He came over to my house and we spoke. We decided that we were going to work on the relationship. However, things just did not seem right. Where he would say he would call and does not call back. Communication was horrible. It came to the point where 2 to 3 days would go by and I wouldn't hear from him. It was hot and cold behavior, but more so cold. Of course, I had a support system, my friends, my family, my co-workers, but they would always say, fuck him. He does not deserve you. He is feeding you breadcrumbs, etc., etc., etc. However, deep down, I had fallen in love with him, and it didn't matter what anyone else said. However, I did not feel good about it. You know, my friend got so upset about the situation with him the week of my birthday that she actually texted him and said to him, stop playing these games. If you want him, be here. If you don't, just say that and go about your business. He was very upset and texted me saying that he couldn't do this anymore. My birthday comes along in September. He sends me a text that when he gets in town, he will give me my gift and happy birthday. And that was it. So during these next few weeks, I would keep sending him long paragraphs, telling him I want to be with him and how much I loved him. I realized the kind of person I was being towards him and how much I wanted to work on this. I told him after a lot of reflecting, I can see how I showed up in the relationship, making him feel insecure. He would respond saying he understood and he misses me too, but that was it. He normally would be short with me and that would be it. For his birthday, mind you, we're barely in communication. It was brief texts here and there. It is now October and his birthday. I told him to come by because I bought him gifts. He came by my house, which was the first time I'd seen him in a few months. I gave him the gift. We were still very much distant from each other, and I told him that we needed to figure out if this is what we want. He told me that he had just started talking to this dude back in his hometown, but nothing serious. So from there on, we decided to continue to talk. Our communication got better as we were talking more frequently. I ended up setting a nice date for us on Halloween night. I told him I wanted both of us to dress nice, so we both had suits on and went to a nice restaurant. The night was amazing. We went downstairs to hang out. We took so many pictures. Things were amazing. We started talking every day, morning, noon, and night. And one day I decided to check the gay app we met on called Jat. Only to see if he still goes on there. And to my surprise, he was. I brought it up with him and it was horrible. We got into a heated argument, a heated fight, and he began to act the same way again, distant and unresponsive. The following weekend, I begged and begged him not to. He sends me a text message saying that he does not feel like he wants to be in a relationship. He wants to focus on himself. I was completely hurt and continued to text him. And that night I cried and was so stressed out. I would tend to shut down, not eat, and just be depressed over the situation. And it seemed like it became a pattern. He then started the hot and cold where he would drop in and out again. I started to just have fun again with other people. But the high we were on was short-lived. By the end of December, fed up with it. So January 2021, he texted me and I just asked him, what does he want? We decided that we were going to work on us, and this was great again, having fun, enjoying each other's company. February came along and he decorated his entire house. He filled it with rose petals and balloons and our pictures all over the place. The high we were on was short-lived. I started to notice a red bump on my leg and not thinking too much about it. I put some cream on it and that was that. A day or two later, I noticed another one on my chest and my arm. I quickly went to the ER and was diagnosed with syphilis. I was treated and told him that he should be treated too. He thought I cheated on him. However, I told him that during the time we went together, I did mess around. He was completely devastated, completely upset with me. You can tell that he was so hurt and wanted answers, but that is all I could give him. As time went on, things between us just became worse and he could not let it go. He brought it up every conversation. My friends would all say I did nothing wrong. He was playing games. Even my mother said the same thing. But I began to blame myself and I was really hard on myself. We got into more and more arguments until he just couldn't do it anymore. Once again, we were breaking up. once again, I was begging, pleading, begging and pleading. I was doing everything that I could to make it right. I bought him cards, wrote lovely things to him. I bought a cake with our pictures. This went on for a few months. He kept telling me, I love you, but I don't think I can ever look past what you did. You can tell he was hurt. This is where everyone as you pushed out comes into play, because I blamed myself. Because I blamed myself and was so hard on myself, so was he. He was just so hard on me. Summer 2021 was horrible for me. We kind of stayed in contact, but it wasn't very much. He would reach out to me every now and then. When I respond, he would not respond in like 2 days. I got tired of this. My friend would tell me, leave him alone. If he loves you, he has to show you now. Stop over texting and stop overextending yourself. But I felt like I was obligated because I felt like I was the one in the wrong. And then one day after he texted me, I simply did not respond. I took time out to focus on myself, but could not get him out of my head. So by the end of August, I decided to reach out to him. We started talking again in the hopes of reconciliation. My birthday comes along and we were on the phone and he tells me happy birthday. After that, we are texting here and there. For this birthday, we did end up going out. A few days later, he actually ends up going out with a friend and his family. And on Snapchat, he posted a video of him and his cousins, as well as this Hispanic dude that worked at his job. The following day, we got into another argument. I just did not understand why I was not invited. But there was just something I felt about the guy he was with. A few weeks later, he ends up telling me that he met someone and this person works at his job. He told me that it was not the Hispanic dude that was with him that night on Snapchat. It was the Hispanic dude's friend. He told me that the person bought him wine and the following day breakfast. I thought it was cruel for him to flaunt that in my face, knowing how I felt. He told me he does not know what he wants, but was interested in getting to know this person. He even told me that he had a tarot card reading and asked me if I wanted to know what this woman said. He told me that she told him that he was going to meet somebody new, and I was devastated. For the life of me, why was he saying this to me? I knew he was hurt, but damn. And I asked him, what about me? He then keeps telling me that he does not know. I begged him once more and he just told me he does love me. After that, I decided to distance myself. He would text every now and then, but I started to just fall completely back. November, I went ghost. I did not want to talk to him. I ended up reaching out before Christmas. We texted briefly and that was it. My friends told me to focus on myself. It was not until January, now we're in 2022, I decided that I was going to have to focus on myself. I then began to watch manifestation videos and going all in on me. I read about Neville Goddard, Law of Attraction Solutions, Abraham Hicks, so many others. And of course, yours truly, Natalie, as the pennies drop. So early 2022, I did not know what I was doing. I just continued to binge watch so many videos. I felt like I was more so watching the videos and practicing the techniques. I decided that I was going to start scripting. So I began scripting about him and other things I wanted, such as a house, more money. But I started to realize I did more techniques to bring him in. You know, how much he loves me affirmations and all things like that. I also did the water method with 2 cups. I tried SATs, but just really felt like I was not doing it right. At the end of January, he reached out to my cousin just to say hi. And in February, he reached out to my mum to say happy birthday. I did not react to him reaching out to my family. I just really started focusing on myself. I actually started to date this other guy that I knew that liked me. We weren't exclusively dating, but we went on a few dates and spent some time together. This went on for a few months, but faded as the months went by. Furthermore, I began to spend more time with my family and hanging out and traveling. Around March, my specific person reached out to me via Snapchat. We had a brief conversation. He was telling me I don't love him anymore. I responded that I did still love him, and he told me that he loves me too. Then, like clockwork, he disappears again. At this time, I found a new YouTuber manifestation coach, Mary Lou. I resonated with her so much because she was just figuring out manifestation, and her SP story was like mine. I watched a success story video several times as it really gave me hope. I never thought that I would actually spend money on a coaching session, and I did. I reached out to her via Instagram. I let her know my story, and then I paid for my very first coaching session. I wanted marriage with my specific person. That was my end state. I wanted us living together and starting a life together. She instructed me to script every night for 30 days. So I would script specifically, and yet generally, I was manifesting a husband. I did not really use my specific person's name in my scripting at first, but I would reread what I wrote before I would go to sleep. I did that for 30 days, and I still felt somewhat positive but doubtful at the same time. So here we are now in May. He reached out to my mom for Mother's Day. I don't say anything to him, although I wanted to. And in June, we texted briefly again in the beginning of the month. Towards the end of the month, he said he wanted to come over. Here I am, so excited and finally thinking, this is it. I finally did it. I reached out to Mary to let her know what was going on. He came over my house. My mum, who loves him, was super excited to see him, and I was so happy to see him too. In my mind, I was thinking, was this really it? My manifestation happening? My mum cooked and we ate and had a drink. We left the house to pick up his dog. However, during the car ride, he opens up to tell me that he was in a relationship. I did not show it, but I was devastated. I was completely crushed. A quick backside note here is I always think that if he was going to be with someone, it would be that Hispanic dude. I felt like that was common. That was a common thought for me, as my previous ex-boyfriend dated a Hispanic person as well. My specific person ended up telling me the dude was actually Dominican and they were living together. I did not show it, but I was hurt. I was confused. Why was he here telling me this? Why? I remained calm as he told me that he does not want to be with this person. It was a mistake and he wanted out. He asked me if he could move in with me, and I told him sure. However, I was going to ask my mother first. I told my mum and she was completely okay with it. I made room in the house for him. By the way, I was in the process of building another house. I thought this would be great for us to move in together. Things seemed as if they were going in the right direction. As we began to text, he would text me things like, good morning, my love, etc., etc., etc. So it made me feel really good. But in the back of my mind, I really had doubts, as I was always experiencing the hot and cold behavior from him. And like clockwork, he started to disappear again. Mary always told me never double text. There was a day I texted him and he never texted back, and I left it at that. My little brother's birthday came along and my mother wanted me to invite him. I really did not want to because I previously texted him and he did not respond. However, I did anyways, and of course he does not respond. Now we're in August, and I decided that I was not going to chase him or beg him this time. I decided to schedule my first 30 minutes with Natalie. It was an amazing coaching session, thank you. And Natalie gave me a technique to work on, words of affirmations and visualizing him, how I wanted him to be. So I began to do the work. I have repeated my affirmations so much that now it became a daily natural routine. I would affirm in the morning, in the shower, on my way to class, on my way to work, just constantly repeating them. I would affirm for myself, and then I would affirm for him. My birthday comes along and he reaches out to say happy birthday, and he will bring me my gifts when he returns. I did not hold my breath. I reached out to Natalie for another session, and it was another great session. I did not feel good because it was the same hot and cold behavior that I was experiencing, but Natalie made me look at it in a different way. Of course, he was going to reach out to me for my birthday. Of course, he wants to live with me. He just had to handle a few things. My 3D was completely the opposite of what I wanted, but I decided to persist. At least I tried. He says, lol. He reached out to my mother and I for Thanksgiving as well as Christmas. And on Christmas, he tells me he loves me. I asked him, does he really? And he told me then that he did, and that he was so busy with work. After I responded, he stopped texting me. I left it at that. I moved into my new house. I was all ready to embark on a new journey, living by myself again. My internship was starting in January, so I was getting myself ready for a new beginning. He reaches out to me again in January. We're now in January 2023. So once again, we have a brief conversation. I told him that I had moved out and I was in my own spot. He told me he was really proud of me. He actually repeated some of these affirmations to me, exactly how I had repeated them to myself. But then when I noticed things were the same. I told him that he knew what I wanted, and if he was not ready to commit, then he needs to leave me alone to focus on my life. He did not respond to that message. I left it at that. After several minutes of coaching, after several 30-minute coaching sessions, Natalie felt she would not be able to fully assess my case in just 30 minutes. So I scheduled a 1-hour session. Natty and I were able to identify the reasons why I was in such a repeated cycle in relationships. All of my relationships ended the same way, but it was something that I thought I dealt with, which was abandonment issues. As a child, my mother sent me to live with my grandmother because she wanted me to be closer to my other family members. Although she thought that this was the best idea, when my mother visited, I was happy, but then when she left, I would cry and cry. As a child, that was very traumatic. It happened so many times. There were other factors as a child that played into this feeling as well. But as an adult, it developed into me being an attachment lover and a people pleaser. Natalie suggested that I purchase the self-love, self-concept workshop. And she tailored this package for us to have 4 1-hour sessions with it. I decided I was going to focus on myself. I wanted to give myself a break from my specific person, work and go all in on me. I love the workshops. I did all the 6 videos as well as repeated them. The inner child one got me emotional because I was able to talk to my little self and comfort him. I would visualize me talking to the younger version of myself and giving him the love he needed when he felt abandoned. I let him know he was protected, safe and loved. It was in this moment that I began to realize I was comforting myself. I continued my affirmations about myself. When my specific person came to mind, I would try to think about myself, about him in a loving way, and remind myself that he loves me. But I will say I did sometimes argue with him in my mind about the past behavior, like how you tell someone you want to move in with them. I even asked my mum, and you still didn't show up. It was embarrassing. However, the minute that those thoughts came to mind, I did my best to flip them. Trust me, I did this a lot. There were times when I would post on Snapchat thinking, okay, he will see it and say something to me. I battled with this a lot. So sometimes I would not post because I want to feel like I was doing so simply for me and not him. I continued the self-work and just realizing that I am a good person. My friends and family would always tell me that I am a good person, that I am sweet, that I am gentle, that anyone would be lucky to have me. I am smart, I am funny, I am hard worker, etc. I began to believe that about myself, you see. I could slowly feel how I felt about myself change, that shift within me change. I know I asked myself, what does loving myself look like? What do I do to love myself? I did not want to do this because I wanted my specific person back. I wanted to do this because I deserved to love myself. I complete myself, and I started to just learn to put me first, learn to say no and be okay with saying no to people, spending money on myself, taking myself out. On my final 1-hour session, I was finally ready to get back to manifesting my specific person. And Natalie told me exactly what to do to saturate my mind into the feeling state. I would listen to music to get me into the feeling state of being together. I would visualize us holding hands at the beach, me laying on his chest, playing with his beard, which happened the other day, by the way, lol. I would visualize us cooking together. I would visualize Natty and I talking about my success story. I visualize my friends being happy for me. I would have inner conversations with him, and over again. I listened to guided meditations before I went to bed. I completely placed myself in the feeling state of having my specific person. I would literally smile because I would hear him say something funny. By mid-April, I checked Snapchat to find that he sent me a message. However, it was deleted. I thought about reaching out, but I did not. I reached out to Natty and she told me, do not reach out. It was uncomfortable for me not to reach out because that is what I normally did. But I stayed true to myself. I knew I was worth more than a deleted message. By the end of April, I watched a video on YouTube, and she said that she told herself if she saw a butterfly, she would reach out to her specific person. I thought of doing the same thing. So I told myself if I see a bald eagle, I would reach out. A few days later, I saw an eagle on my Facebook. However, it wasn't the eagle I had in my mind. So I decided not to reach out. The following day, I saw a bald eagle on Instagram and my heart sank in my stomach. I decided to reach out. I texted him and he quickly responded to my message and basically said that he thought I'd ignored him on Snapchat. I told him that I did not ignore him, and boom, we started texting. I told him what did he want to say to me. I screenshotted this to Natalie because it was crazy. He told me that he loves me with every breath in him and that he never stopped loving me. He told me that I was his home. He apologized for taking me for granted and wanting to build a life together with me. I was so extremely happy. We texted the next few days. However, once again, it went back to not hearing from him. I was completely tired of it and reached out to Natalie and told her, here we go again. I told her, fuck it, I am not going to be doing this again. But clearly there was something wrong because he was still showing up the way I knew in my mind how he shows up. Natalie told me that I truly have to forget the old story and create him how I want him to show up. So I decided to completely ignore the 3D. It was so hard to do because I was simply just over it. But I decided to continue to affirm how much he loves me, how lucky he is to have me. I continued my inner conversations. 3 weeks after that, he texted me and apologized because he realized he did not text me back. I asked him when he wanted to talk. He told me that he was busy working, but he will let me know. I left it at that. I reached out to Natalie again. And she said, that's bullshit. I am worth him prioritizing me. I am taking time off to come and see him. So 3 days after that, he reaches out to me, asking me what I was doing for lunch and that he wanted to come over to talk. This is the first time I'm seeing him in almost a year. He comes over and we talk about his behavior throughout the few years and what I know I didn't deserve. He apologized. I needed reassurance that he would never behave like that again. He responded, telling me that he can only show me with his actions moving forwards. I realized this was going to be a brand new relationship, so leaving the past in the past is where it had to stay. The following day, he was moving in. It has been such an amazing time waking up next to each other. One of my affirmations was that I wanted flowers. In my visualization, I visualized him knocking at the door with flowers in his hands. What actually happened was when I came downstairs, I saw 2 vases of flowers with a card and a bottle of Hennessy. This is my manifestation love story. So this is it. This is my manifestation story, my manifestation love story. I want to encourage you all, never give up. If you truly want something, believe that it is already yours. You should have a pep in your step, knowing that everything works out in your favor. Circumstances do not matter. Nothing matters, literally. I experienced hot and cold behavior. I experienced a third party. I was battling my own negative thoughts. You can definitely do it. Trust me, I am an overthinker and an overanalyzer, and I stay in my head. So I know how I can be. But you have to maintain a mental diet in addition. Be grateful and thankful. I show God appreciation every day. I have so much to be thankful for. And I would also show gratitude to God for waking me up in the morning. My house, my bills are paid. My eyes can see, my hands work, my ears can hear, my nose can smell. I can wake up to see another day. Above everything else, choose you. You can never go wrong if you go in all on yourself. My specific person is icing on the cake, and I have found a new level of love and respect for myself that no one else can give me. I gave it to myself. The way that he is treating me now is because of the level of self-love I now have for myself. I am no longer attached to the need of someone else to fulfill me. The biggest takeaway is loving myself. I hope my story can inspire you all never to give up on what you truly want, because it is already yours. Create it within yourself and watch the magic that will happen. Take care. There you go. With all the tests that were being brought to him, all of the negative beliefs, all of the hot and cold being in his head, bit by bit, day by day, he let go. He fell in love with himself. He found the respect for himself, and he still aligned his desire of being with his man, being with him, his soulmate, his best friend, his lover, his everything. So, with diligence, consistency, and persistence, wobbles don't matter, but it's never giving up. That's what matters. Take care, guys, and please feel free to share your incredible responses and comments below. And thank you for staying to the end. It truly is an inspirational journey that whether you're gay or not, you know, I really, really hope that you have all found this inspirational. I really, really do. Take care, guys, and I'll be back very soon.